Man, South Africans are so confused right now. It's not even funny. Because political analysts are telling South Africans not to vote for the African National Congress, but at the same time, they are not telling the people which party they should vote for in 2024. So we have a problem. South Africans are nearly convinced not to vote for the African National Congress, but at the same time, they don't know which party they should vote for. And you know that South Africans, when they are mad at the ANC, they don't go to the polls. South Africans, when they are mad at the ANC, they don't go to vote, man. They sit at home. So, which political party, guys, do you think that South Africans should give a chance in 2024? Which political party are you going to vote for? Yeah, let me rephrase the question. Which political party are you going to vote for, and why are you going to vote for that political party? And why do you think that political party is going to do good in 2024? And why do you think South Africans need that political party? Guys, we really need to open up this dialogue because we have so many opposition parties. Political parties are mushrooming out of everywhere. Million opposition parties, but South Africans still feel like they don't have an alternative to the African National Congress. With all of these parties, South Africans feel like they don't have an alternative to the African National Congress. So guys, we have a problem. What is it to be done about this whole thing? What is it to be done? Because right now, our people are in the limbo, man. Our people are being told not to vote for the ANC, but our people are not being advised for which party to vote for. And at the same time, our people do not trust these new political parties that are appearing anyway. It's a shame, man. Just look at Isma Khashule. Isma Khashule was with the ANC for like what, 40 years. Isma Khashule knows everything that the ANC has done. He knows how the ANC machine operates. But today, the ANC has kicked him out. And guess what? He opens up his own political party. And he's telling you to vote for him. So this is the reason why South Africans are so confused right now. Because these guys, they can't work together. I mean, you saw that guy who went from the DA, I think it's Bongani Balu, who went from the DA and went to the Action SA. And things didn't work there in the Action SA. And guess what? He opened up his own political party. I think it's called Arise or something. The guys like Musime Mani, they have their own political party. Kanyas, he has his own political party. Gaten Mackenzie has his own political party. So guys, what is it that we need to do? Because I'm telling you, South Africans still feel like they don't have an alternative. I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. At some point, the South Africans really considered voting for the DA. But I don't know what went wrong. Or maybe it's because the EFF came around and now people are contemplating between the EFF and the DA. But there was a time in South Africa when South Africans were really contemplating about voting for the DA, man. But right now, everything is like South Africans are no longer interested in voting for the DA. So which party, guys, do you think that is going to do good in 2024? Which party do you think that South Africans should vote for? And why do you think that party is going to do good in 2024? And why do you think that party deserves a chance to govern South Africa, man?
And when I look at our parliament, whether we talk about disruption, or whether we talk about the President's State of the Nation address, or whether we just talk about the level of debate, I don't feel that anyone has actually proposed something new, something fundamentally different, that people can believe in, that is about a debate about how do we get ourselves out of this. It just feels like either it's a boring promise or it's someone protesting against a boring promise. But nobody's giving us an alternative to that boring promise.
Exactly, man. People are simply criticizing the ANC, but they are not giving the people an alternative. They are not doing that. They are simply pointing out what the ANC is doing wrong. But they are not giving the people an alternative, guys. I'm telling you, man. And this is why South Africans are finding it hard to vote for these new guys. Because these new guys are not telling them anything new. And these new guys are not proposing anything new. It's almost as if the only reason why these guys are opening up political parties is to discredit the African National Congress. And people can see through that. People know that these political parties are not offering us anything. All of them are telling us about the ANC. They are not telling us about what is it that we can do. It's a mess right now, guys, in the country, man.
Here's the problem. The problem is that in South Africa, and South Africans all of us must take responsibility for the political outcomes that we have. We have entrusted the one party, the African National Congress, since 1994, with the responsibility to govern our country, without us pausing and evaluating if this party is taking us in the right direction or not. If we had paused, I think by now the ANC wouldn't be the government of South Africa, because if you look at the crimes that the ANC has committed against the people of South Africa, they are unforgivable. They have literally broken the back of our state. So that's the first thing. So if you have a party that has been in power for almost 30 years, you are going to get to a point where it becomes stale. That party becomes stale. In other words, there is nothing that the ANC will tell you that it hasn't told you over the past 30 years.
Fact.
So that's why, as the leader of society and as the leader of public politics and discourse, it sets the tone. And the tone that comes out of our politics is that we are moving around the same circle. It's because we've had the same bunch of people who have been in parliament for the longest time. I mean, you had people like Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, right? who were in their 30s in 1994, sitting right there in parliament. They are now in their 60s, right?
Many in their 70s.
Many in their 70s. They were there when they were young. So don't expect anything new. That's number one. Number two, and it's related to the first point, is that South Africans, they haven't paid attention to standards. You know, in South Africa, there are no standards. You can wake up, you are a thug, you are a convicted criminal, you are a Kenny Kunen. Let's be blunt about it. Convicted criminal. And because you've run out of money, you set up a party. You call it a patriotic alliance. South Africans are so gullible that such thugs, such convicted criminals, then get voted into power.
Man, he's telling the truth. The South Africans are desperate for leadership, man. South Africans are desperate for proper leadership. That's why that's why it is so easy for anyone to open up a political party and declare themselves as a leader, man. Because South Africans, man, are so desperate of a leader. We are so desperate of leadership in this country. That is why every Tom, Dick and Harry, man, can open up a political party and declare themselves as a leader. And South Africans are going to give that person a chance. And that's how bad things are right now in the country, man. Things are so bad in the country right now. I feel sorry for South Africans, man. I feel sorry for South Africans. Honestly. I feel sorry for South Africans. Because this desperation, guys, is driving us insane. The desperation is driving us insane. And I think at some point, as the people, man, as the public, we're going to have to realize that we are the leadership. This is why the voter education is so important, because people don't know when you vote for someone. They don't understand the kind of power they are giving to these politicians, man. They don't know. They don't know the kind of power they are giving these politicians. People simply put out their eggs next to a political party, not understanding what is it exactly that you have done. And that's why the political parties, they are not really interested in educating people about the voter education. They are not interested in telling the people that if you vote for me, these are the kind of powers that you are giving me. They are not going to tell the people that, because they know that if people know what kind of power they are giving these guys, people might as well not vote for them. They know that if people understand the level of power or the responsibilities they are placing on these people will not vote for them, man. That's why the political parties in South Africa are not interested in educating our people about voter education. They are not interested in that. They are not interested in that. But people are desperate for leadership right now in the country, man. They are desperate.
What do you expect when these criminals are in power? They are going to loot, right? So we don't have standards. In the countries where you refer to, take South Korea, take Singapore, take even China, by the way. Sure. There, if you are not educated, you won't be in cabinet. Bottom line. There, if you are corrupt, in China they murder you, literally, right? Or in South Korea, they jail you. I mean, the South Koreans have jailed former presidents, right? But in South Africa, we don't do that. Mm-hmm. So until, as South Africans, we have a civilized debate about the need to have standards in our politics, that a convicted criminal like Kenny Kunene cannot stand for office. And an educated person cannot stand for office. Because the business of governance is a very complicated business. It requires education. I mean, you didn't go to school for nothing, Sisu. I mean, if we took someone who has never been to school to sit in your chair, I don't think this interview would actually be as orderly and as coherent as it has been going. So we've got to be honest with ourselves. If we are not, we are going to self-destruct as a society.
Yeah, I think certainly there's a need for us to rethink a lot of the assumptions under which we've been working as a country. It feels like we've reached a point where the playbook that worked to get us out of the crisis of the late 1980s is just falling on deaf ears and not actually delivering. And I wonder, I mean, you've proposed some changes around questions of how we appoint and who we appoint. But you've also, in a recent article, spoken about an entire second transition. So we should think about the first transition as that moment where we came out of apartheid and moved into the constitutional order. And now we need something as fundamental. Talk us through this idea of a second transition and what you think 2024 represents in terms of the political life of our country.
That's a very important question you're asking. You see, why do I call this a second transition? It's because the first transition was in 1994. What is a transition in politics? In political science, it's called a realignment moment. What are the characteristics? Number one, you see a fundamental decline of a hegemonic force that used to hold society together, and it declines. And the manifestations of that include the loss of control by that hegemonic force over the state. We saw that before 1994. The National Party, when it was crumbling, it lost control over the state. Number three, a realignment moment is characterized by a sense of anxiety about the future. Typically, there would be lack of clarity as to what the future would look like. So in 1994, even as most of us were excited that the ANC was going to take over as the new government, there was anxiety in society as to what the new South Africa would look like. So if you take these three elements, you see them now today. Number one, the ANC has lost control over the South African state. There's no question about it. That's why potholes, that's why education, that's why crime. So the hegemonic force that held us together, which is the ANC, has totally lost control of society. Number two, there is uncertainty about the future. As you and I speak here, South Africans are wondering, what does the future of our children look like? Who is going to be in charge of South Africa? That tells you that you are witnessing a second transition. So what happened during the first transition? When there is a transition, groups of the elite in society, they have secret talks about managing that transition and constructing a new order. That happened in the 1990s, right? My worry is that as we speak, there are no such talks about managing this transition and about constructing a new order. I'm not aware of the elite convening, at least in the fashion that we saw them before 1994, to talk seriously about how do we manage this transition and what kind of a new order do we need to put in place? So I am very worried that we are likely to drift unguided as a society, because it seems like there is no one in society who's taking responsibility for managing the transition and fashioning a new order. So that's my reading. But 2024, I have no doubt, the ANC is not going to get the majority. 50%, forget it.
But question remains, guys, who is going to replace the ANC, man? Who is going to replace the ANC? That is the big question I think a lot of people are having right now. That is the big question that a lot of people are having right now. Who is going to replace the ANC, man? We hear people are saying all of these things that Prince Mashele is saying, but who is going to replace them in 2024? Who is capable enough to replace the ANC in 2024? Who?
South Africans are angry. We are going to have a coalition government after 2024. And I can tell you the scenarios. Scenario number one is either the ANC and the EFF. And we can see the EFF and the ANC trying to experiment with that kind of scenario, by the way. In Johannesburg, what is happening now, Ekurhuleni and so on. They're trying to test waters. Or you are going to have the ANC and the DA.
The so-called Grand Coalition.
Exactly. Could possibly have that. The mayor of Cape Town has
I saw that. Yeah.
And Helen Zille, by the way, previously. Exactly.
As well.
So they are toying with that with that idea. Yeah. And here is the interesting element. Both the DA and the EFF actually are imagining the same thing. They both can see the ANC is collapsing. They want the ANC to collapse into them. So the EFF wants the ANC to collapse into the EFF so that the EFF emerges as the leader of South Africa. The DA wants to do the same. Sure. So there is actually a very strange competition for the ANC by smaller parties. The second scenario is a coalition of former opposition parties. That is the third. The DA, Action SA, even the EFF could be part of it.
Sure.
The IFP in KwaZulu-Natal will grow. So that those are the scenarios. But one thing for sure, our country is going to see something we haven't seen since 1994.
No, and I think there's some...
So guys, what are your thoughts, man? Like, I really hoped that Prince Mashele was going to answer that question, because I feel like he didn't answer the question that Season Pofu said about like not having an alternative. So I'm going to leave it to you guys. So I'm going to go back to my question. Which party do you think that is going to do good in 2024? Which party are you going to vote for in 2024? And why are you voting for that certain party? And why do you think that party is going to benefit South Africa? So guys, please drop those comment line, and please drop those comments on the comment section. Don't forget to hit that like button, and the most important part, guys, please subscribe. My name is Thomas Mabaso, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.